brightness here. Boy, it's so much brightness here. Hey, folks, Sherman Ray, Black Success Magazine, the podcast. Oh, let me move my microphone over here so you can actually hear me, I guess. Um, hey, good morning, everybody. It's Monday, and it was a wild weekend, as many of you probably know. Today, we're going to talk about how to get out of comparison, being in that comparison trap. And this is going to be one of those times where I think it's going to really speak to a lot of people that are out there. I know it speaks to me because I tend to do this a lot. I compare myself to a lot of other people. We'll get into it in just a minute, and maybe this will resonate with you also. Um, just a reminder, Black Success Magazine is actually out. It is on our website, which is blacksuccessmagazine.com. So you can go right on over there and you can check out Black Success Magazine, which is the magazine. So just go all the way down to the bottom of the page and you can check it out. And if some of you, I know we've had people ask about our podcast and how they can check out our podcast if they haven't heard them. You can go to Apple Podcasts, folks, and Black Success Magazine podcast is there. So, just go on your Google device or your Amazon device or your Apple device and say, "Hey, Siri, bring up Black Success Magazine podcast," and it will come up. I mean, it's just as easy as that. But you can go to blacksuccessmagazine.com/podcasts, and we've got a bunch of them. I mean, there's tons of them there. You can check them out. So today we're going to talk about, once again, how to get out of the comparison trap. And especially in business, this is probably one of the biggest issues that we deal with in business. And many of us, when we start our businesses, and we start our businesses out by looking at doing research on them. So we'll look for other businesses that have done what we're doing, when we're doing them, how they do them, that kind of stuff. And it's kind of a normal part of everybody's business. Well, the problem comes, though, is that when we study too much about what other people are doing, it can paralyze us. I mean, it literally can paralyze us as a business owner trying to get things done. We're saying to ourselves, "Well, I can't do that because they've got all the latest and greatest stuff." When I started my restaurant many years ago, I was looking at Starbucks. I was looking at other really very nice restaurants in the Las Vegas area that I thought, "Man, you got to be kidding me!" And it literally almost paralyzed us to getting started. And it can happen to you. So we're going to continue to talk about not only ways we compare ourselves, but solutions to that. Because I think it's probably even more important that we find some solutions to that whole comparison, comparing ourselves to other people. Let me, before we get going too far, we're going to be starting a new segment. So Friday, it's going to be Open Line Friday. So that'll be where you can actually come on the show in the chat feature. Even though I do have the chat feature open here, let me make sure if you have any comments about the show, I can actually see your comments about the show. But because I generally talk about what I want to talk about throughout the week, I may not answer. It depends on what the question is. So definitely, if you've got a comment, you want to say, "Hey, what's up, Sherm?" I can check out your comment in the comment section, and just go ahead and put it down there. And if it's something, especially when we're talking about today about comparing your business, if it's really relevant to what we're talking about today, I can stop and check out your comment. There is a little tape delay, so just kind of bear with me. Let's talk about the number one reason why comparing yourself and doing research on other businesses can really have an impact on you. It can build negativity and uncertainty in your mind about your idea for a business. because we start looking at other businesses and we go, oh my gosh, they've got the latest and greatest equipment and they've got all this other stuff. I will never be able to do that because I don't even have money. I don't have, a pot, to put my soup in, being very nice about that. I don't even have that to put stuff in. And it can manifest in even bigger ways. So let's talk about a couple of ways. We can be uncertain about the viability of our idea. Let's say you have an idea about a bakery. Let's say you want to open a bakery. And you say, okay, I want to start a bakery, but then you've been comparing yourself to, Wonder Bread or, whatever, whatever name that could be, Sara Lee or whatever it is, who's a baker. And you're saying to yourself, I don't know if my business will even make any money. So, I mean, that can be, you're going to say, wow, it seemed like a great idea before, but now I don't even know if it'll even fly. Will I even make a buck off of it? You could be uncertain about your own abilities as an entrepreneur. Yeah, I mean, a lot of business owners, they say to themselves, I don't even know if I am the guy to do it. What I learned early on as in my quest to start my own business is that most entrepreneurs know they're an entrepreneur years before they start their business. Oh yeah, most entrepreneurs don't just fall into being an entrepreneur. They know it. They've known it for years. People have told you are an entrepreneur. People have told you that you're a leader. People have told you got great ideas. All indications are that you should start your own business because you've got that thing, there are a lot of people that we can see out in the marketplace that they're probably going to be managers. They're probably going to be, or, they're going to be workers or something like that. But entrepreneurs, generally people can spot them a long way off. So, but when you do your research and you start comparing yourself to other business owners, all of a sudden, all of those things that were happening before, all of a sudden they go away. It doesn't even make sense, but that is a reality. I mean, a reality is that, you when you start comparing yourself to other people, you start going, well, I'm not really sure about myself, even though for 15 years you've been kicking butt and taking names. And now you take the big step of becoming, of saying, okay, I'm going to take the step and I'm going to start my own business. And then you just forget it. I've got a friend of mine who started a bike shop. And I was just talking to him this morning on Facebook. And, you could tell that this guy probably was going to start his own business a long time ago. I mean, a long time ago. As a matter of fact, he worked for another bike company locally. And on the weekends, they would have bike rides. And they would meet near my business. And he would have 50, 60 people, sometimes, 200 people are launching and they would do this on the weekends. Well, once this guy left to take his business, all that stopped. I'm saying this because you could tell that this guy was a leader and people were leading him. People wanted to be around this guy. A lot of times your business is predicated on people liking you. It's very obvious that if you are the kind of person that people follow, they naturally gravitate towards you, there's a calling on your life. Okay, I know that it's a biblical term on a business show, but it's very, very applicable. If people follow you and they naturally follow you, there's probably a good chance that you probably should, that you've got this entrepreneurial spirit all over you. But when you start comparing yourself to other people, you just kind of go, man, I don't know. Let me give you another example. We as a people, as Black people, and I tend to, and because we're, this is this show that primarily deals with Black success, Black people tend to excel at whatever we put our minds to. I know this is a surprise, but no, I'm getting to it. w- whether it's math, whether it's science, whether it's physical things that we do, whether it's, writing, whatever we tend to do, we tend to get really good at it really quickly. And it's from 1865, okay, in Emancipation Proclamation, moving forward. Every time a black person got involved in something, it went bonkers, off the chart good, especially based upon the fact that black folks were subjugated for so many years. I mean, hundreds of years. And then all of a sudden, these hayseeds come off of the farm after, I shouldn't have said hayseeds, but you know what I mean. Folks that did not have the education, did not have what people thought was the acumen to be bankers, to be merchants, to become, all of a sudden they start and become great at whatever they do. But then we start comparing ourselves to everybody else, and we get paralyzed, and we start going, well, we shouldn't, we can't, I would have, I could have, but I was comparing myself to somebody else. This is the danger in us comparing ourselves to everybody else when we should be following, and we'll get into this a little later, instead of us getting into what we are meant to do. Okay? If I compared myself to everybody else out there in the world, I would never, ever start a magazine. We just started a TV show. Actually, just started last week. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little later. If I were comparing myself to every other person in the world and we're saying, woe is me, all of the stuff, negative things that were going on, I would never be able to do this stuff. Okay. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. We're talking about our own, the negative consequences of comparing yourself to people. One of them is you're uncertain about your own entrepreneurial spirit. Lastly, you will become uncertain about your own strategy. How are you going to get this done? There's a guy, and many of you know him, and this might come as a surprise to you. But oh gosh, she's married to Beyonce. Shoot, forgot the guy's name now. Oh crap! It's embarrassing. But I can't believe. Okay, somebody remind me. Somebody put that in the comment section, because I know a couple of you are watching. Who's married to Beyonce? Shoot, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have forgot the guy's name, but I did. Many musicians, even though they have bravado on the outside, are very insecure people, and as a result of that, could become paralyzed about what they're doing. And I'm still trying to remember his name. I'm sorry. If they allowed that insecurity to become an inset thing, to metastasize, to spread all throughout their being, they would never become who they are. And it's just not going to, you just can't get it. So anyways, let's move on, folks. Let's talk about three main things that we do when we compare ourselves to other people before us. And we'll talk about solutions to it. The number one, don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. Don't compare your beginning in whatever your business you're starting to someone else's middle. We see this when, let's say I start my podcast, and we started a podcast. Not that all that long ago. We started it last year. But if I compare my podcast to someone else, let's say, I don't know, there's one called BIN. It's called Black Information Network. I listened to it last night. When you compare yourself to your beginning to someone else's middle, you're not taking into account the trials, the tribulations, the resources that other business may have had that you don't have. Not all of us start at the same place. Some of us start with absolutely nothing. I mean, literally nothing, just a glimmer of hope and a microphone. Okay, and we're saying, okay, I'm going to start. And as opposed to other businesses that start, let's take Black Information Network. Okay, Black Information Network is actually started by CBS Radio, iHeartRadio, and so which means they have got a wealth of money behind them already. They've already got writers, they've got money, they've got the platform, they've already got a distribution network that that we at Black Success Magazine don't have, because we are at our beginning. We are where we're supposed to be. Most businesses will never tell you what happened in the early years of their business because it doesn't sound good. Okay, it just doesn't sound good. You're going, when I first started. No, what they do is they highlight all the great things that they're doing right now. There's a guy named Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone is a real estate guy, and he talks about all the money. So whenever you see Grant Cardone's, stuff, he's always flipping bills all over the place. Yeah, I got all this money. Yeah, you guys can have all this other stuff. And that's all you see. But you don't know how that guy started. No one that I know of has started up here. I mean, at the top of their game already. They already got millions of dollars rolling in. Tyler Perry. Many of you know Tyler Perry. When he started out, could not sell tickets, couldn't give them away to his stuff. It got so bad in Tyler Perry's life. And many, like I said, Tyler Perry, many of you know him about Madea and, the Browns and all this other stuff. He was sleeping out of his car. He maxed out all of his credit cards. He bought out, I think, 2 or 3 seasons of a movie theater to do his plays just to get people to go in. And still nobody showed up. But when we see Tyler Perry now, we go, oh my gosh, this guy's just rich. Oh my God, he's just doing great things. So you, as let's say you're somebody who's, has aspirations to be a TV producer or to be a playwright or whatever. Now you're going, well, I can't compare to Tyler Perry. No, you can't, because Tyler Perry you are at the place where you should be. Yes, when we study other people, we don't want to make the mistakes they do, but we can't compare our experience at the beginning of our business to where Tyler Perry is now. Because where Tyler Perry is now is like here. He's a billionaire now, but you can't compare yourself to that. It'll paralyze you because you're thinking, oh, I'll never be able to be where Tyler Perry is at. You may or may not. Okay, you'll be where you're going to be. That's your road. But don't look at Tyler Perry and allow that to stop you from becoming who you potentially could be. There's a guy, we just interviewed him for Las Vegas Speaks, and I mentioned that earlier. Las Vegas Speaks is a show that we are just recording. We just recorded our first episode of Las Vegas Speaks on Monday, and we were doing a viewing of it this week with our board and stuff like that. Just exciting. We'll put some of that information in the show notes if you'd like to be on our show, which is really pretty cool. One of the guests on the show, his name is Ken Alber, and Ken Alber is one of the 3 principals of Penta Construction or Penta Building Group, and they did the T-Mobile Arena. They've done Caesars. They've done, their first job was the Aladdin. They started in 2000. Right before the 9/11 attack. So Ken was on our show, and he was talking about what he was doing. Well, Ken failed to mention on the show about his beginning. I had a conversation with Ken as we were walking out, and his story was a revelation. And I'll tell you really quickly how his company got started. They worked for years for another company, him and his buddies. And they decided, hey, we're going to, get in on the construction company. construction boom that was going on in Las Vegas. So there was a boom going on in Las Vegas at the time in 2000. I know because I worked in construction during that time. And these three guys went together and they just decided we're going to start this company. We're gone. And it was and the rest is history. No. What happened is each one of these guys mortgaged their homes to the tune of $50,000 a piece. And Ken had 4 kids. Oh, besides that, he had to get over the fear of being an entrepreneur. Yeah. You see him now as Ken Alber, the owner of Penta, who's done this to T-Mobile, and they've done this, and they've gone to Hawaii, and they've done all these great projects. But you don't know that when he first started, this guy was that close to being bankrupt because a year after they started, 9/11 occurred. Had they started that business a year later or 6 months later, they would have probably been out of business. Okay. A lot of things go into you becoming who you are, but you can't compare yourself to what somebody else is going, because you don't know what they've gone through. You don't want to make the mistakes. You can study them to try not to make the mistakes they made, but don't compare yourself to who they are, because you don't know what these guys have gone through, ups, downs, and everything else to get to where they're at. Okay. All right. So that's it for that one. Okay. Your circumstances are completely unique to you. Okay. Number 2, your circumstances are completely unique to you. A lot of businesses on the outside look like they're the same business. A coffee shop is a coffee shop. A bread shop's a bread shop. No, they are all unique. You might work in the same industry. You might, it might on the outward, it looks like you're, the same thing, but your unique situation, your unique circumstances are unique to you because you are unique. You might be a mother of 4. Okay. Whereas most businesses that start as startups are guys, and they might be single guys. They might be single young guys. They might be single young guys that bring on a partner. Okay. You might just be a single mom doing it all by yourself with 4 kids. Yeah, you might have the same kind of business they do, but you are unique to you. So you can't compare yourself to what somebody else is doing because they started out different. It's a totally different business. So don't compare yourself to somebody else's business because it's not the same business. Number 3, your business is completely unique. Okay, not just your circumstances, but your business is completely unique. Your resources that you started, and we were talking about this when we first started. The resources that you bring to your business are unique to you. You might have begged, borrowed, and steal off of your family members, okay, to get your business started. And many of us do that. You might have maxed out credit cards. You might have, whatever, but your business is completely unique. And that should tell you, okay, I can't compare myself to somebody else because my buddy who has the bicycle shop, when he started his business, even though he has the same bicycle shop as another bicycle shop that might be here in the Valley, in Las Vegas Valley, his particular business, when it first started, his resource-wise, completely different than what other people do. Okay? Completely different. These other guys might have started out with a line of credit from, the manufacturer. They might have started out with a business loan. They might have started out with, all kinds of things that he may not have ever had. So because his business is different. I mean, it's in a different location too. I mean, it's a lot of things go into your business being what it is. So you can't compare what you are doing to what other people are doing. And just on a personal note, and we're talking about the Black community comparing itself to any other community of people. We are totally different people. We speak differently. We think differently on many levels. We look different than everybody else. So we cannot compare ourselves to everybody else and expect everybody to treat us like everybody else. This this is why we created Black Success Magazine. Black Success Magazine is really about us, and it highlights what we do because that's really who we want to compare ourselves to. We want to say to ourselves, as a people, how are we doing? And I'll tell you right now, and I still have failed to quantify and to bring these numbers together. In America, the number of Black millionaires goes up each and every day. We're not talking about everybody else. We're not talking about Greek or Italian or white or Black or excuse me, or Asian or anything like that. We're just talking about Black people. Okay. In the last, and this is from 1865. So from 1865 and then literally 1965, when, you really had full, emancipation, okay, quote unquote emancipation. Let's just cut it in the middle and we'll say from 1900 to the year 2020, the number of millionaires that have been added to a people who up until 1900 were enslaved. Okay. And then literally, because of all of the other things that we won't go into right now, Jim Crow and all this other segregation and everything else, were not allowed to become full productive members of society. You fast forward that to 2020, and the number of millionaires that there are within the Black community is astounding. The number, and we have among those millionaires a handful of billionaires, which puts us in the top 1% of people on the planet. Okay? Why do I say all this? Because we should never. Oh, thank you. I can't see who that is that's saying Happy New Year, but thank you so much. I appreciate that. The number of people that we have that are continually moving up the rung of success in America should be encouraging to every person in the Black community. Okay? Do not take your eye off the prize by comparing yourself to other people or what they have or what they call the wage gap. Okay? This show is not about the wage gap right now because we can talk about that. I think we're going to be bringing somebody on to talk about the wage gap and how to lessen that. But what the main thrust of this is all about is that we should not be comparing ourselves to other people. We should be comparing ourselves to what other Black people are doing within our society. And I'll tell you right now, Barack Obama in 2008 became the president of the United States, which puts him as the most powerful man on the planet, which once again tells you there is no ceiling to what we can do. There was nobody more powerful than Barack Obama. Okay. No one. And it lasted for 8 years. Okay. So it wasn't like it was a fluke that all of a sudden this guy got to be president for a weekend. Okay. He wasn't a token Black guy who became the president. He became the president of the United States for 8 years, which tells you this, folks. And I'll end with this. There is no limit to what we can do as a people. I am your cheerleader, folks. I am my cheerleader. We should be cheerleading ourselves to opening schools, right? To opening businesses, to opening financial institutions, to speak encouraging words to ourselves, as opposed to allowing the world to tell us, oh no, woe is you, woe is you, woe is you, woe is you. Okay, what they're telling you is that you can't do it. And we certainly can. The fastest man on the planet is a Black guy. The smartest people on the planet, Black folks. The most creative people on the planet, Black people. There's nobody, if we put our mind to doing it, that can excel and become as great as the Black community. And I'm not saying that as being a racist or anything like that. It's a fact. But we've got to keep our eyes on the prize. and that's on not and that involves not comparing ourselves to other people. Anyways, folks, this is Sherman Ray, Black Success Magazine. I know we're running a little early, we're running a little long here today. Folks, we'll be back again tomorrow, 8:30 in the morning for Black Success Magazine, the podcast. And I hope you enjoy it, folks. I really do. Make sure you go to our website, blacksuccessmagazine.com. Check out the magazine, check out the podcast, articles, everything else. This has been Sherman Ray. Thank you, folks, again. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.